I, Swami Ishatmananda, on behalf of the Vivekananda Vedanta Society of Chicago, welcome you over here in the Hall of Consciousness, my sisters and brothers in religion, and dear devotees and friends. So we have come here to discuss about the peace in our faith, and which is so important nowadays. So I will chant a peace chant from the Veda, which is the basic book of Hinduism. So it says, Samgachadham Sambadadham Sambho Manamsi Janatam. Let all assemble together, let all speak together, let all's mind be in the harmony. So what will happen then? Deva bhagam yatha purve samjanana upasate. The shining ones of ancient times all preceded by this worship. So if we are together, we are happy. If we always break and fight, who suffer? We suffer. So that is the thing that we, the religious people, has to teach our generations, our people. There may be differences, there may be fighting, but in the name of economy or politics, maybe social something. But in the name of religion, it should be peace, because the Creator is the peace. In the Upanishad it says, Anande bakhalu imani bhutani jayante. Ananda, that is the happiness, which is the source of peace. From that, everything has been created. So we like to live in happiness. What do you want actually? Only three things. All people, everywhere, not only people, beings, everywhere, we only need three things. We like to survive, that's all. We don't like to die. You know why? Each and everything, even an ant after the dinosaurs, don't like to die. Why? Because the source from where we have come, the God, the Brahman, in whatever name you call it, is eternal. So that quality is within us. So we don't like to die. Second, we like to know, curiosity. Sometimes it goes in the name of gossip. That is bad, but it is curiosity. We like to know where from it comes, from the Creator. Why? The Creator is the source of knowledge. And finally, we all want happiness, anand. In Sanskrit, it is anand, happiness. We don't like to suffer, no one. Even the $1 million, if we give someone to take all my suffering, nobody will come. So we like to be happy, we like to know, and we like to survive. These only three things. Everywhere, everyone. So that is the reason we have to come together, brothers, sisters. We have to come together again and again. And we have to know each other. And we have to teach these to the society. Otherwise, we will suffer. Look at the pages of the history. We call them heroes. What they have done, butchered thousands of people. A great hero. He is going in thousands of people, killing people. Is that hero? Any other human society? What is his contribution? Has he written a book? Has he made a library, an university, an hospital? No. They are heroes who worked in the small laboratories and developed the medicine and saved us from the pandemic very recently. They are heroes, but we don't know their names. We only know their names who can kill. So we have to think about it. The religious people have to think about it. So we are making our heroes the butchers. What is peace? Understanding. What is peace and happiness? Just simple understanding. Husband and wife understanding each other, there is peace in the home. The staff and the owner understanding each other, that is the growth of the business. And the same way in the society, if we understand each other. Before she rings the bell, I would like to conclude here. Samani ba akuti, samana hridayani baha. The beautiful teaching that is coming down 10,000 years tradition. Learn, know, love, and nothing else. It says, this place is common. These thoughts are common. So let our hearts be shared as well. Samanamastubo mano yathaba susahasasti. Let all thoughts, all minds be united so that all may enjoy peace and contentment. Will you please join me to say 3 times the Sanskrit word Shanti, which means peace. And where from the difficulty comes? From the nature. Suddenly there will be something that disturbs the whole society. Something that happens in the society that disturbs us. And sometimes our own health. So that is why 3 times we say, Shanti, O God, please be friendly with me. O God, let all the neighbors and the beings around me be happy with me. Let my body and mind be friendly with me. Please repeat after me. Om Shanti. 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 Hari Om. Thank you, friends. Thank you for joining. See, I was in the right time.
Thank you, Swami. Our next speaker will be Mr. Rohinton Rivetna, who is a member and former president of the Zoroastrian Center of Chicago and the founding vice president of the Council for the Parliament of World Religions. He will represent the Zoroastrian tradition. His presentation will begin with a musical piece by Miss Mani Rao.
Okay. Good morning, namaste. This is my composition. This is waking up humankind to praise the nature and the beauty of Lord. I hope you like it. Wake up humankind in beautiful world in praise of Him. Dadar Hormas, this whole creation is all alive in praise of Him. Dadar Hormas, wake up mankind in beautiful world in praise of Him. Dadar Hormas. with pretty colors, rivers flowing, spreading ripples. Flowers are blooming with pretty colors, rivers flowing, spreading ripples. Standing trees on alpine mountains in praise of Him. Dadar Urmas, wake up humankind in beautiful world in praise of Him. Dadar Urmas. Beast and bird roaming on earth, living in harmony with each other. Beast and bird roaming on earth, living in harmony with each other. Let us unite, sing all along in praise of Him. Dadar Ormas, wake up humankind in beautiful world in praise of Him. Dadar Ormas. Whole world is lost in its own bustle. Take a deep breath, oh mankind. Whole world is lost in its own bustle. Take a deep breath, oh mankind. Watch nature's display in rapt silence in praise of Him. Dadar Ormas, wake up humankind in beautiful world in praise of Him. Dadar Ormas, His whole creation is all alive in praise of Him. Dadar Ormas, praise of Him. Dadar Ormas, praise of Him. Dadar Ormas.
Thank you, Mani. It was very peaceful. Respected Swami Ishatmananda and beloved interfaithers, I bring you greetings from the Zoroastrian community. I'm very happy to be here at the Home of Harmony, whose mission has always been to promote interfaith and intrafaith dialogue. I'm thankful to you for bringing people of various faiths together to engage in conversation and celebrate our diversity. We are followers of Osho Zarathustra, who divinely inspired, preached the faith 4,000 years ago in the Bronze Age. After the fall of the mighty Persian Empire, we have lived in India peaceably for over 1,000 years in the warmth and kind hospitality of the majority Hindu nation that has allowed us to prosper and even shine. Such is the Hindu faith that has welcomed all those who have come to its shores. In the words of great Swami Vivekananda, star of the 1893 Parliament of World's Religions, who in his opening address said, I am proud to belong to the religion which has sheltered and still fostering the remnant of the grand Zoroastrian nation. We have lived peaceably in India and lately in regions around the world. The story of our arrival in India sums up how we live in our host countries. Upon our first arrival on the west coast of India in boatloads from Iran, seeking refuge, the local Hindu king refused entry, sending to the group a pot of milk filled to the brim, suggesting that there was no room in the land. In response, the priest leading the refugees sprinkled a pinch of sugar in the pot, signifying how we would sweeten the pot and not overflow it. This is the story every Zarathustri child learns at his or her mother's feet. And this is how we have lived in India and everywhere else where we have settled. So what are the imperatives that influence our peaceable living? And those are many. I shall cite just two or three. One, upon initiation in the faith, every Zoroastrian child takes the oath. Puraspa Kadram, Nidashnaya Thishem, Kedvarothamashonem. Put an end to quarrels, sheathe the sword, and be a bridge builder. Our three cardinal prayers, Ashembahu, Yathahu Vairyo, and Yangya Atam, remind us to do good for the sake of doing good, be of service to others, and follow in the footsteps of our illustrious forebears. We are taught to use our good mind, follow the natural law of order and harmony, be stewards of creation, including humankind, and be devoted to one's family, community, country, and Ahura Mazda. I submit to you then that peace indeed is the goal of my faith. I would make one other point. A well-known theologian, Hans Kuhn, has said, "There shall be no peace among the nations unless there is peace among the religions. Only if there is peace within ourselves and within our own religions can there be peace among the religions." And in order that we achieve the goal, our interfaith organizations should be incubators for intrafaith dialogue, intrafaith, within our own dialogue. This is my plea, that each of us within our own religions work to bring about peace in the world that we all yearn for. I thank you.
Thank you, Ro. Thank you, Mani. Our next presenter is Dr. Jeffery D. Long. He is the Carl W. Sigler Professor of Religion and Philosophy and Asian Studies at Elizabethtown College in central Pennsylvania. Professor Long will represent Jainism. Jainism is a religion on which he has extensively studied, researched, and authored books. we're going to be able to replay his talk that he recorded prior to this event. I hope it's 10 minutes.
Jai Jinendra, as the greeting goes in the Jain tradition. It is my great honor today to speak of the Jain tradition, which I have studied very deeply through the years, and which has had a great deal of influence on my thinking and my way of life. Peace is the goal of Jainism. In fact, peace is also the path in Jainism. We achieve peace through peace. What does this mean? According to the Jain tradition, the natural state of the jiva, the soul, the living being, the natural state of the soul is a state of peace, a state of calm, a state of serenity. This peace is disrupted when we become very attached to things and events in the world. By that I mean we allow those things to disturb our inner peace, to disrupt our inner serenity. And then we are going down the path of conflict, both inwardly and outwardly. We are conflicted within ourselves, within our emotions, but this also leads us into conflict with other beings. According to the Jain tradition, if we want to have true peace, we have to first find peace within ourselves, but we do that through cultivating peace with the rest of the world, peace with all living beings. The central ethical principle of the Jain tradition is ahimsa. This means harmlessness, nonviolence in thought, in word, and in action. The aim is to refrain from harming any living being, whether it be physically, whether it be through our words, which can cause hurt feelings, or even through our thoughts, because our thoughts are the seeds of our actions. If we go around thinking negative thoughts, hateful thoughts towards others, those will manifest in our words and in our actions. And even if we keep those thoughts suppressed, they can harm us. They can have negative influences and negative impacts on the mind and on the body. So the idea is to uproot all negative thinking and the negative words and the negative actions that flow from that thinking. It's like uprooting a weed in a garden, except that's a very violent image. From a Jain point of view, even the weed is a plant, it's a living being, it is ultimately a center of consciousness. And so the best way we can think of this is as a purification of the mind, a cleaning of the mind. And in fact, the Jain path is often called the path of purification, purifying the mind of all harmful thoughts, of selfishness and greed. Another central Jain principle is aparigraha, that is non-ownership or non-attachment toward material things. Mahatma Gandhi in the Hindu tradition was deeply influenced by Jain thought, and he articulated the principle of aparigraha when he very famously said, "There is enough in the world for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed." Greed, of course, is one of the chief causes of conflict and violence, so we see aparigraha having relevance to ahimsa as well. The more we are attached to physical things, the more we are greedy, the more we seek our happiness in objects, we find ourselves in conflict with others who might want those same objects for themselves. And so each of these negative tendencies begets others. Greed begets violence. Violence, in turn, harms not only others, but ourselves. So the path to peace is peace by refraining from all harm, by refraining from greed, by taking only the bare minimum from the material world around us and sharing from our abundance. We can come to a state of peace with others and ultimately with ourselves as well. According to the Jain tradition, when one has evolved very far on this path of peace, one eventually relinquishes ownership of material objects and takes up an ascetic life. So Jain munis and sadhvis, what we might call monks and nuns in the English language, are people who have dedicated themselves utterly to the practice of ahimsa and aparigraha. Finally, there is the principle of anekantavada, a third central principle of the Jain tradition. This is the principle of non-one-sidedness, or the complexity of reality. Just as we become excessively attached to material objects, therefore being drawn to violence and harm, we can also be excessively attached to our own spiritual traditions and beliefs and practices. By attachment, I don't mean the deep conviction that one needs in order to seriously practice a tradition, but rather rendering the tradition into a kind of object which we feel is our possession and which we must therefore protect from others. This is one of the greatest causes of harm in the world. Fanaticism, dogmatism, these are tendencies which work against peace and which we need to correct within ourselves individually. And only then can we move to correct these tendencies in the world as well. So Jain tradition is oriented toward peace as its ultimate goal. Peace is also the path, and through inward peace, we can also achieve outward peace in the world. Jai Janindra, and thank you very much.
Our next speaker will be Sensei Tricia Teater. She's the director and guiding teacher at the Udambara Zen Sangha in Evanston, Illinois. Tricia, Sensei will be representing Buddhism.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So this morning I'll share some very brief thoughts on Zen Buddhism and living a peaceful life. The word Zen has sort of been taken over in our culture. But I learned a long time ago that Zen is not a perfume, a thing that you sell and market. Peace in a bottle. Zen has no goal, but it is a never-ending practice. Zen is action. Peace is action. Today, I thought I'd briefly share with you teachings of Dogen Zenji, the founder of Zodo Zen, which is the lineage that I come from. This teaching is called the Bodhisattva's Four Methods of Guidance, highlighting non-duality. Maybe first, what is a bodhisattva? His Holiness the Dalai Lama shares this bodhisattva vow. For as long as space endures, for as long as living beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the misery of the world. The four methods of guidance, the first one is giving. Non-greed, not to covet, not to curry favor. Whether it is the teaching, sharing the Dharma, material goods, or fearlessness, each gift has its value and is worth giving. Mind is beyond measure. Things given are beyond measure. And yet in giving, mind transforms the gift, and the gift transforms the mind. Beneficial action is to skillfully benefit all classes of sentient beings. That is to care about their distant and their near future, and to help them by using skillful means. In ancient times, someone helped a caged tortoise. Another took care of a sick sparrow. They did not expect reward. They were moved to do so only for the sake of beneficial action. Beneficial action is oneness, benefiting self and others together. Benefit friend and enemy equally. Benefit self and others. If you have this heart, even beneficial action for the sake of grass, trees, wind, and water is spontaneous and never-ending. Identity action, when we know identity action, self and others are one. The ocean does not exclude water. That's why it's so big. The mountain does not exclude soil. That's why it's so high. People form a nation and seek a wise leader. But as they do, they don't completely know the reason why the wise leader is wise. They only hope to be supported by this wise leader. They do not notice that they are the ones supporting the wise leader. In this way, the principle of identity action is applied to both wise leader and the people. This being so, identity action is a vow of the Bodhisattva. With a gentle expression, practice identity action for all people. Finally is kind speech. Important practice these days. And I made a little note in the column of this paper reminding me that kind speech can also be silence. When you see sentient beings, you arouse the heart of compassion, in other words, of loving care. It is contrary to cruel and violent speech. If kind speech is offered, little by little, kind speech expands. Thus, even kind speech that is not ordinarily known or seen comes into being. Be willing to practice it for this entire present life. Do not give up. World after world, life after life. Kind speech is the basis for reconciling rulers and subduing enemies. Those who hear kind speech from you have a delighted expression and a joyful mind. Those who hear of your kind speech will be deeply touched. They will always remember it. Know that kind speech arises from kind heart, and a kind heart from the seed of compassionate heart. Ponder the fact that kind speech is not just praising the merits of others. It has the power to turn the destiny of a nation. Ponder the fact that kind speech is not just praising the merits of others. It has the power to turn the destiny of a nation. In your seats, you have a handout I brought. It may be purple. It may be folded with a flower on it. If you have one with the flower on it, I hope you'll note that it's a sunflower. You have a copy. The originals were all made, 30, 40 of them that I gave to our Sangha members. Sunflower is Ukraine. Its petals include Kwansiam Bosal, Kuan Yin, compassion. I thought this morning as I close, we could chant the discourse on loving kindness, which is a path of peace. This is what should be done by the one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Please join me. Straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world.
Thank you, Tricia. Our next presenter is Sharan Singh. She will speak on Sikhism, followed by the musical presentation by 4 young performers, Montej, Kavaraj, Avar, and Anil Singh. Sharan?
Sat Sri Akal. My dear friends, today I'm honored to join all of you and the Sikh children here. Before they begin singing a Shabad, which is a prayer that showcases how Sikhism is centered around peace, I would like to take the opportunity to explain why peace is deeply intertwined in Sikhism. Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism, taught all Sikhs to lead an exemplary life based on strong ethics and love for God and all beings. He urged all Sikhs to live a life based on the principles of honest labor called Kirat Karo, sharing with others, one Shako, Seva, selfless service, and Simran, the meditation and love upon God. This framework is what we as Sikhs use to foster peace within the family and in society at large. Historically, Guru Nanak launched a movement for peace and love in the 15th century. He was succeeded by 9 other living gurus who all worked hard to promote peace. The Sikh gurus promoted peace in their messages that were enshrined in the Sikh holy book called the Guru Granth Sahib. The Guru Granth not only includes the teachings of our gurus, but also the works of around 30 individuals from different backgrounds who are diverse in caste, profession, and in religion. The diversity of teachings that were picked by the gurus and included in the Granth Sahib highlights how all our gurus taught us to value and respect different beliefs and honors of all faiths. That is why Guru Gobind, the 10th and the last human guru, states, all men have the same eyes, the same ears, the same body, the same build, a compound of earth, air, fire, and water. Let no man, even by mistake, think that there is a difference. Despite these teachings, even during the Guru's time, human conflicts, just like those we are facing here today, are abundant. Guru Nanak explains why there is human conflict. Haume kartiya na sukh hoye, sukh mangat dukh agan hoye, which means the primary cause of conflicts in the world is because of egoistic behavior of humans. Acting in egotism, peace is not obtained. He goes on to say, Sukh mangat dukh agal hoye, se sukhya sada sohne jarne vicho aap gavaye. Peace, beg for peace, but they undergo suffering, people undergo suffering. A way out of human suffering is to eradicate one's self-conceit. To overcome egoistic behavior, he emphasizes another practical way of life, truthful living. He asserts, Nanak sach rate sukh howe sev kamaniya. Guru Nanak says that those who are attuned to truth and to live truthfully know peace. To obtain peace in one's life and thereby in the world as well, Guru Nanak says, do selfless service and share our bounties of life with others. Sharing what we earn and with others, the Guru says, is the best and true way to live one's life peacefully. In this way, Guru Nanak not only enunciated the basic cause of conflict, but also suggested and promoted practical ways out of conflict. In addition, the Gurus also taught us the importance of defending ourselves and others from injustice. Our 10th Guru evoked the concept of a just war, where he said if all peaceful means have been attempted, and the word here is peaceful, but they have failed, it is just to wield the sword and to protect the innocent and fight against tyranny. This is the concept of saint soldier, or Sensei in Sikhism. Today, throughout the world, Sikhs pray for world peace, and we also try to attain inner peace. Bhagat Ravidas, whose writings are included in the Guru Granth, explains how one can devote their life and soul to God by attaining a blissful state of mind, and in that state of mind, they always feel peace and happy. The children here are going to soon perform one of the Shabads of Bhagat Ravidas, which uses a town called Begumpura as a metaphor, and what one could experience in this town if they were to attain inner peace. Here are the words and the meanings of the Shabad. Begumpura seher ko nao, dokh ando nahi kaitao. Begumpura, the city without sorrow, is the name of this town. There is no suffering or anxiety there. Na tasvees, karaj namal, Kauf na kata, na tarsa jamal. There are no troubles or taxes or commodities there. There is no fear, blemish, or downfall there. Ab mohe khoob vatan ke pai, uha khair sada mere pai. Now that I found this most excellent city, There is lasting peace and safety there, O siblings of destiny. Kayam dayam sada patashahi, dom nasem ek so ahi. God's kingdom is steady, stable, and eternal. There is no second or no third status. All are equal there. Abadam sadam madasur, uhagani base mamur. That city is populous and eternally famous. Those who live there are wealthy and contented. Tauto sel karejo pave, meherba mehel nako otkave. They stroll about freely, just as they please. They know the mention of the Lord's presence, and no one blocks their way. Keh Ravadas kalas chamar, jo hum seheri so meet hamara. Says Ravadas, the emancipated shoemaker, whoever is a citizen of this city is a friend of mine. Now let us hear the children perform this Shabad that explains these meanings that I've just spoken to you.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਬੇਗਮਪੁਰਾ ਜਨਮਾਲ ਖੌਫ ਨਾ ਕਰਤਾ ਨਾ ਤਰਸ ਜਵਾਲ ਖੌਫ ਨਾ ਕਰਤਾ ਨਾ ਤਰਸ ਜਵਾਲ ਅਬ ਮੋਏ ਖੂਬ ਵਤਨ ਗਏ ਪਾਈ ਅਬ ਮੋਏ ਖੂਬ ਵਤਨ ਗਏ ਪਾਈ ਉਹਾਂ ਖੈਰ ਸਦਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਬਾਈ ਉਹਾਂ ਖੈਰ ਸਦਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਬਾਈ ਦੁਖ ਅੰਦੋਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਠਾਓ ਦੁਖ ਅੰਦੋਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਠਾਓ ਬੇਗਮਪੁਰਾ ਕਾਇਮ ਦਾਇਮ ਸਦਾ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਕਾਇਮ ਦਾਇਮ ਸਦਾ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਤੁਮ ਨਾ ਸੇਮ ਏਕ ਸੋ ਆਹੀ ਤੁਮ ਨਾ ਸੇਮ ਏਕ ਸੋ ਆਹੀ आबादान सदा मशहूर आबादान सदा मशहूर उहा गनी बसै मामूर उहा गनी बसै मामूर दुख अंदो नहीं ठठाओ दुख अंदो नहीं ठठाओ बेगम तुरा सहर बोना बेगम तुरा सहर बोना दुख अंदो नहीं ठठाओ दुख अंदो नहीं ठठाओ त्यो त्यो सैल करे जो पावे त्यो सैल करे जो पावे मेरम मैल न को अटकावे मेरम मैल न को अटकावे कैर विदास कलास चमारा कैर विदास कलास चमारा जो हम सैरी सोमीत जो हम सैरी सोमीत हमारा दुख तो नीत ठाओ दुख तो नहीं ठाओ वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह
These are not children, they're young men. Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be your MC today and share with you that I failed to mention that Sharan Singh is also a member of the Parliament of World Religions and also a member of the Council of Religious Leaders in Metropolitan Chicago and a wonderful colleague, as well as a few other of the speakers here. Thank you very much. Our next presenter is Sister Kathleen Sherman. Kathleen is a Catholic nun and a member of the Congregation of St. Joseph. She's a well-known music composer, singer, and activist for peace and justice. Please welcome Sister Kathleen. She will be singing 3 compositions that she wrote. Welcome.
Good morning. And thank you for the opportunity to share my music with you this morning. I believe that one of the first steps towards peace is to imagine it, to long for peace, and to dream of peace. And so I begin with a song called I Dream a World. I dream a world where all are one, and hands join hands across the nations. I dream a world where children are safe and all creatures of earth thrive together. And I know it can be. Will you join now with me? It's a dream for our moment in time. Come dream a world. I dream a world where divisions are ended and songs ring out with sounds of healing. I dream a world where all voices are praying and they're saying that love is the only answer. I can feel my heart pounding with the pulse of God's love. I can feel the hope stirring for all creation. I imagine our planet so fragile, so lovely, wrapped in a mantle of peace. It's a mantle of all people, all creatures and all colors, beautiful and shining, like a beacon we are finding our way toward tomorrow, today. Come dream a world where all are one. Let us live, let us dream for that purpose. We can be a promise that's kept for the future. We can be a gift of love that will last forever. And I know it can be. Will you join now with me? It's a dream for our moment in time. Come dream a world. Will you join me? Let's dream a world. Thank you. Thank you. I believe a second step towards peace is to walk the path together, as so many people have already said this morning, this afternoon. To walk hand in hand with our diversity and in our complexity. And this next song is called Walk With Me and was written because of the violence to our children in our city. But I believe that all the children throughout our world are asking us to walk, will you walk with me down the path toward a place where violence is no more? And if you'd like to sing along, it just gets repeated, so please sing along if you like. Walk with me, will you walk with me down the path toward a place where violence is no more? with me? Will you walk with me down the path toward a place where together and forever we will live in peace? Walk with me, will you walk with me down the path toward a place where violence is no more? Walk with me, will you walk with me down the path toward a place where together and forever we will live in peace? We will live in peace. Walk with me, will you walk with me down the path toward a place where violence is no more? Walk with me, will you walk with me down the path toward a place where together and forever we will live in peace? We will live in peace. We will live in peace. We will live in peace. Walk with me. Will you walk with me down the path toward a place where violence is no more? Walk with me. Will you walk with me down the path toward a place where together and forever we will live in peace? We will live in peace. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Do I have 2 minutes? 2 minutes? Okay. Don't want to overstep my time. So peace is possible. There's a wonderful quote that says, "We are the ones we are waiting for." It is us. And so together we can dance in the new day of peace and love and justice and unity for all. So let us dance in the new day. Could I have a little louder if possible? Thanks. And you could sing along on the refrain of this too if you like. Prophets go forth to proclaim your stories. Go with your visions and go with your dreams. Dreamers go quickly, the night is waiting for us to dance in the new day. We gather all into our circle, a circle inviting all hands. And though we are many, we sing with one voice, a song that all earth understands. Prophets go forth to proclaim your stories. Go with your visions and go with your dreams. Dreamers go quickly, the night is waiting for us to dance in the new day. We go forth to celebrate living, our works and our loves and our fears. The strength of our joy has been nourished in pain, our roots watered deeply by tears. Prophets go forth to proclaim your stories. Go with your visions and go with your dreams. Dreamers go quickly, the night is waiting for us to dance in the new day. Strengthened around holy wisdom,
trusting her warmth and her flame. In her we are tender, fierce, loving, and strong. As one we go forth in her name. Prophets, go forth to proclaim your stories. Go with your visions and go with your dreams. Dreamers, go quickly, the night is waiting for us to dance in the new day. For us to dance in the new day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sister. That was wonderful. Our next presenter was previously videotaped. All right, he's here. Our next presenter is Rabbi Reni Dickman. Reni is the Executive Vice President of the Chicago Board of Rabbis and Senior Educator of the Jewish United Fund. Rabbi Dickman will represent Judaism. And as all of you know, because it's the Sabbath, she cannot be here in person. All right, will give us our best attention.
The word shalom is difficult to translate. It's often translated as peace. It's even more than that. Shalom is a kind of wholeness and completeness. Every Jewish service ends with a prayer for peace, often using these words: Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. May the one who makes peace or shalom in the heavens, may that Holy One also create peace for us, for Israel, meaning the people of Israel, and for all who dwell on earth. The central prayer of our services ends with this prayer for peace. The mourner's prayer ends with these same words. We get a taste of this shalom, this wholeness, this peace on Shabbat. We get a taste of what we call the world to come, when there will be shalom. And we get a taste of that through prayer, through time with our community and our family, through Torah study, and through joyous singing and eating together. Shlemut, related to the word shalom, is our highest aspiration. Shalom is our highest hope. But what I would say is the goal of Judaism is to do mitzvot, to do commandments. We serve the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, by fulfilling the commandments. Some of them include prayer, keeping Shabbat, celebrating holidays, studying Torah, or others like visiting the sick, feeding the hungry, comforting the mourner, always mindful of their dignity as a human being created in God's image. We also have an important concept called Shalom Bayit, peace within the home. Because our homes are also like a small sanctuary, we try our best to live in peace with our families. Not always easy, but certainly a goal. We also have a concept called machloket l'shem shamayim, which means an argument or a debate for the sake of heaven, or for even, I would say, for the sake of, for God, It's an argument that I'm having because I'm trying to get at what God wants of me. It's not a personal attack on the person that I am debating. We are both involved respectfully in a debate. Our Talmud, our longest and most comprehensive collection of Jewish opinions on every topic, from civil and religious law, is exactly that. It is a collection of different opinions, usually supported by verses from the Torah. And all of these opinions are preserved because they get at different parts of what is true. More than one value can be a priority at the same time. They are different opinions about what the rabbis thought was best for the community, even if it wasn't the most ideal. Jewish law is the result of centuries of back and forth, heated dialogues about how to fulfill the commandments. But as I said, the debates are not personal. They are l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven. There is great respect between the parties engaged in the debate. And this is one way that Judaism strives for peace, through respectful debate, through the ability to disagree, but to understand where each person is coming from. I'll give you two examples. One is tzedakah, often translated as charity, comes from the word tzedek, which means justice. And I am obligated to give tzedakah, to give financially, whether I am in a particularly generous mood or not, because it's a law, it is an obligation. And so the Talmud teaches that if there's a wealthy person who falls into poverty, the community is supposed to support that person in the way that they are used to living. So if someone is used to living like a person of wealth and they fall into poverty, in order to maintain that person's dignity and not embarrass them, the community is supposed to support them in that kind of lifestyle. But then, of course, comes the argument, well, what if the community does that and as a result leaves less money for other people in poverty? And there's a debate back and forth. How do we maintain the dignity of this wealthy person who has become poor and still make sure that there is enough financial resources to help other people in need? And there's disagreement about which value to prioritize. Here's another concrete example. There are also instructions in the Talmud about where a tannery can be located in a town and how close it can be to a bakery, because the smells of the tannery are going to emit from the tannery, and the smell could get into the bakery and could diminish the business of the bakery. And so there's a debate. Could the tannery be on the top floor of a building when the bakery is on the first floor? Can it be next door to the bakery? How far does the tannery have to be? And so you might think, oh, you're really getting into the weeds on this issue. And the Talmud does exactly that. It gets into the weeds, it gets into the details, it gets into the debates, because the rabbis believed that through debate, through dialogue, even through argument, would come compromise. And that compromise might not be anyone's ideal, but it allows the community to live together. And so debate, respectful debate, is a path towards peace. And there's also the idea that law, just laws, based on justice and fairness, can also create peace. For example, the law that I mentioned previously, that I am obligated to give of my financial resources to help other people, whether I feel generous or not. And it's those laws that obligate us to behave in certain ways that can create peace in our communities and in the world. We also have a concept which is mipnei darchei shalom, which means for the ways of peace, or for the sake of peace, which is another way of saying we're going to institute a certain practice, a certain law, which might not be the ideal, but we're going to institute it for the sake of creating peace in our community. And here's the best example I could come up with. In the sabbatical year, in the 7th year, the Torah tells us that the land is to rest and all debts are forgiven. But people found that as the end of the 7th year was approaching, people of means were not lending to people who needed loans because they knew that soon enough at the end of the 7th year, the debt would be canceled and the debt would not be repaid. And so people in need of loans couldn't get the loans that they wanted. So ideally, you would give the loan and it would be canceled and it would in the end turn out to be not a loan. It would be a gift of tzedakah. But Rabbi Hillel in the 1st century in Israel saw that people who needed loans were not receiving the help that they needed. And so he created a loophole called the prose bull, which slightly altered the law to say that all personal debts are canceled at the end of the 7th year. But if those personal debts are transferred to the court of the town, then they become a public debt, and public debts are not canceled at the end of the 7th year. And that's not the ideal, right? That's not the ideal that the Torah prescribes, but it was said, mipnei darchei shalom, for the sake of creating peace in our community, we're going to alter the law in this way. Some would say it wasn't an alteration, it was an addition to make it possible for people in need of loans to still receive them. And so I want to point out that part of the path towards peace in Jewish thinking is compromise, is accepting that we can't always live in the ideal, but finding the best we can do under all of the very human needs and circumstances that we live in. So in the Torah, in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15, verse 4, it says, "There shall be no needy among you, since your God will bless you in the land that your God is giving you as a hereditary portion, if only you heed your God and take care to keep all this instruction, all of these mitzvot, the Torah, that I enjoin upon you this day. For God will bless you as promised." So the Torah lays out this ideal that there won't be any needy people. But then it goes on to say, if, however, there is a needy person among you, do not harden your heart and shut your hand against your kin. Ki patoach tiftach. Rather, you must surely, and it repeats the verb, open your hand and lend whatever is sufficient to meet the need. Beware lest you harbor the base thought, the 7th year, the year of remission is coming, and then you don't give a loan. Your needy kin will cry out to God and you will incur guilt. Give readily and have no regrets. And then in the next verse, in verse 11, it says, "For there will never cease to be needy ones in your land, which is why I command you, open your hand to the poor and needy in your land." So even within the Torah, we have the ideal that there will be no needy, and then the very real, there will never cease to be needy people. And so we aspire for the day when there will be complete shalom. Everyone will live in peace. But I want to end with a quote and then a song from a rabbi that I work with, who is a teacher of mine, Rabbi Yechiel Puko. And he said that in Jewish life and Jewish thought, We are committed to the reality that step by step, mitzvah by mitzvah, we will provide incomplete amelioration of society's problems. And our ongoing question is, what is my next mitzvah? What is the next commandment that I can fulfill? I'm going to end by singing the words that I started with, Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel. The one who makes peace up above, may the Holy One bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who dwell on earth. There are many, many tunes to those words. This is just one of them. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom.
There are times in this world that we cut a lot of people some slack. And because Reni is a Evanstonian too, and she can't hear my bell, we let her go. Thank you. Our next presenter is a dear friend, Dr. Dan Olsen. He's the director of the Office of Ecumenical and Interreligious Affairs of the Archdiocese of Chicago. He will present his talk on peace for Christianity in the Catholic tradition. Dan? Thank you.
At the risk of drawing the ire of our timekeeper, could I invite you maybe to stand up for 15 seconds? I know you've been sitting a long time. Just 15 seconds. I have 5, 4, no. Okay, if you could again be seated, and if you need to depart for any reason. I'm sorry to have seen Sister Kathleen depart. I want to thank her for more eloquently speaking from the Catholic tradition than I can, but I will do my best. Let me begin by thanking Swami Ishatmananda, President of the Vivekananda Vedanta Society of Chicago, and the organizing committee who did such great work to Did I break it? It really is an honor to give it another shot. To be part of this distinguished panel of speakers from a variety of religious traditions. As I mentioned, I'll speak from the Catholic Christian tradition. If I leave anything out in Christianity, I'm assured my dear brother Simon will fill in the rest. I bring you greetings of peace and joy from Cardinal Blaise Cupich and the Archdiocese of Chicago, along with my colleague Susan. Today's theme, Peace is the Goal of My Faith, is timely. While peace-building efforts are always needed, it seems most relevant these challenging days. I have to admit that I don't often think of faith in terms of goals. As a Christian, I see faith through the prism of relationship, primarily a relationship with God, whom Christians believe shared our human nature in the person of Jesus of Nazareth some 2,000 years ago. Christian faith in our times begins then with an encounter with the risen Jesus, which then impacts how we encounter others in the world in which we live. When I think of faith and its connection to peace, therefore, my mind immediately turns to Jesus and his words and actions. As such, let me turn to some relevant passages from Christian scripture which teach us about Jesus' view of peace understood relationally. First, and perhaps foremost, Jesus brought a message of peace to his followers. For example, during the Sermon on the Mount, recounted in Matthew's Gospel, Jesus declared, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." According to John's Gospel, on the night before he died, Jesus spent time with his disciples, sharing a meal with them and offering them final instructions, hopes, and dreams for their life without him. As part of this message, Jesus echoed what we found in the Sermon on the Mount, and he said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give it to you. Do not let your heart be troubled or afraid." Christians learn in these two passages that peace is a very part of God's essence. Jesus is able to share what he had received from his divine Father, namely lasting peace. This peace is not only able to be shared, it is relational by its very nature. Peacemakers are, in fact, children of God, a clear indication of close relationship. True peace is not something that we can have and hold on to. Rather, it is a shared and communal. After Jesus rose from the dead, John's Gospel again tells us that Jesus focused on peace in his message to his disciples. It reads, "On the evening of that first day of the week, when the doors were locked where the disciples were, Jesus came and stood in their midst and said to them, 'Peace be with you.' When he had said this, he showed them his hands and his side. The disciples rejoiced when they saw the Lord. Jesus said to them again, 'Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you.'" This scene of Jesus appearing to his disciples following his resurrection asks something of them. Not only are they to receive the peace that only God can give in full measure, they are sent to spread that peace to others. They now have a job. As Jesus spent his time among them, healing the sick, feeding the hungry, comforting the sorrowful, showing mercy and compassion to others, it was now their obligation to do the same for others. The letter to the Colossians expanded upon this responsibility in the following terms. The author writes, "Put to death, then, the parts of you that are earthly, immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and the greed that is idolatry. By these you too once conducted yourselves when you lived in that way, but now you must put them all away. Anger, fury, malice, slander, and obscene language out of your mouths. Stop lying to one another, since you have taken off the old self with its practices and have put on a new self, which is being renewed in the image of the Creator. Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, heartfelt compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, bearing with one another and forgiving one another. If one has a grievance against another, as the Lord has forgiven you, so must you do. And over all of these put on love, that is the bond of perfection. And let the peace of Christ control your hearts, the peace into which you were called into one body. That's the end of the quote. From these passages, we can see that the early Christian community was instructed to be guided by peace and to spread that message of peace to others. This call certainly influenced early Christian writers like Paul and Peter, who began and end all their letters to earlier followers with messages of peace. St. Paul's letter to the Philippians, for example, begins, Paul and Timothy, slaves of Christ Jesus, to all the holy ones in Christ Jesus who are in Philippi. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Paul's second letter to the Corinthians begins similarly and concludes by saying, finally, brothers, rejoice, mend your ways, encourage one another, agree with one another, live in peace, and the God of love and peace will be with you. This centering message of peace needs to be heard anew in our times. All too often in public discourse and online messaging, calls for peace, mutual understanding, and collaboration are dismissed or even derided. Compromise has become a dirty word. As a Christian, however, I cannot ignore Jesus' instruction to spread peace, understood in terms of relationship. Spreading peace was not presented by Jesus as one option among many, but as a core, constitutive dimension of Christian identity. While living out that message of peace requires the pursuit of justice and calling out wrongs when we see them, it also demands that these pursuits be done in a manner that respects the ultimate worth and dignity of others. To amplify this point, I want to end, before she rings the bell, by recalling the final paragraph of Nostra Aetate, the Second Vatican Council's declaration on the relation of the Catholic Church to non-Christian religions. This core teaching document of the Church ends by saying, and I quote, "The Church, Catholic Church, reproves as foreign to the mind of Christ any discrimination against people or any harassment of them on the basis of their race, color, condition in life, or religion. Accordingly, followers in the footsteps of the holy apostles Peter and Paul, the Sacred Council earnestly begs the Christian faithful to conduct themselves well among the Gentiles, and if possible, as far as depends on them, to be at peace with all, and in that way, to be true sons and daughters of the Father who is in heaven." Thank you.
I can say that we're running over time. Too bad. Thank you, Dan. Our next presenter, did you just get off the plane? Our next presenter is Imam Kareem Irfan. Kareem is the Vice President of the Islamic Society of North America and the past president of the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago. Kareem will be representing the Islamic tradition.
Assalamu alaikum, and greetings of peace upon all of you. For me, it remains a personal delight and an honor to be at this home of harmony. An invitation from my friend and respected associate, Swami Ishatmananda. For me, that's a directive. And to cap it off with being invited to a summit of all faiths, one particularly focused on peace, nothing could be more important. And I begin with apologies for arriving late, but thank you for accommodating me, Swamiji and Ms. Bhattacharji. Pastoral duties can sometimes get in the way, and there was a couple of deaths in the community yesterday to be taken care of, and some consoling words to be addressed this morning. But nevertheless, for me, being here is tremendously important. Nothing could be more important, especially as our world today is rife with acts of barbaric destruction and inhumanity. The civilians that are being slaughtered, starved brutally in Gaza and in the Ukraine wars, they're shocking examples, but they represent a culture of divisiveness and strife around that needs to be addressed. And who better to do that than us, representatives, leaders, activists of faith? Vasudeva Kutumbakam takes on immense meaning in today's context. The world is one family. It carries fierce urgency in view of what's happening around today. Beyond just speaking about peace, which has been done very well, and I hope I can add just a little bit to that discourse, Swamiji, your convening of faith leaders today, in my mind, is a call for action beyond the words that we express today. So with that in mind, let us be assured that religion, our faiths, they provide valuable foundations for a culture of peace and the realization of a society which stays away from violence and aggression. For sure, I'll quickly touch upon the basic principles of Islam, where Muslims amongst themselves and with people of other faiths are required, demanded, expected as a fundamental article of their faith to peaceful and harmonious interaction and friendships. And that any form of violence, war, is categorically prohibited except in the form of justified, proportionate defense. My friend Dan and others here will appreciate what the theologian Hans Kung said, that there will be no peace amongst the peoples of the world without peace among the world's religions. we as representatives of those faiths need to put that belief into action. And that's what I'm reminding myself. So as we talk about peace, what exactly do we mean by peace? And the term can be highly emotive, often abused as a tool of political propaganda. And where does violence play into this notion of peace? So let's be clear that violence can have multiple modalities. The obvious one is direct violence, manifested by various forms of intentional bodily harm, killing, maiming, sieging, torturing, starving, bombing, whatever form is used, but directly posing an affront to basic human needs. You then also have the modality of violence, which is structural in nature. Resulting from the presence of social structures whose cornerstones are exploitation and repression. Then we have a final modality, which is cultural violence, where you have a society which does not respect the rights of others. A society that can be racist, ethnic, monopolistic, leading to cultural violence. So there are some who distinguish between negative peace, which is simply the absence of war and violence, and positive peace, which is the presence of justice and order. So let's be clear then, peace is more than the absence of war or violence. It is the maintenance of an orderly and just society where everybody is protected against the violence or extortion of aggression. And the society is just in giving everybody the right to be secure from exploitation and abuse by the powerful. So let us keep that backdrop in mind. And particularly in that viewpoint, I remind myself as a Muslim, and I share that with you, that Islam as a religion demands peace and reconciliation as a means of maintaining relationships amongst Muslims and with people of other faiths and those of no faiths. That is the demand from me if I subscribe to my faith. And the understanding that life is sacred and that a believer has a duty to uphold truth and justice in the most truthful understanding of those terms. So Islam, as far as my faith is concerned, emphasizes that peace, relying upon the very designation of the term Islam coming from salam, from peace. It is not Muhammadanism as it sometimes tends to be quoted. For me, the understanding is that my Lord, our Lord, defined this faith as being one, named after peace, embodying peace, and expecting that all followers will adopt it in their initiatives. So and there are 2 or 3 points of critical importance that I want to emphasize here, because there is a culture of peace that is prevalent through all aspects of Islam that I need to keep in mind, not in just speaking, but in my behavior when I present this to you. So the first one is there is no compulsion in religion. The understanding that all of us have a right to our choice of understanding. Whatever path, as many faiths, so many paths, right there. whatever path is being chosen, I respect you for it. You have that absolute right. That allows me to be open to peaceful discourse with those who disagree with me superficially, at least in my understanding. And then there is the culture of peace and non-violent behavior. And the Quran invites people directly in Quranic verses to peace and life. The Quran commands that if those who oppose you, your enemies, desire peace, welcome it. And the understanding that if those with whom you disagree, they are inclined toward peace, then you too incline towards this. So I find this fascinating particularly. I don't want to veer off onto the political discourse here, but there is talk of ceasefire going around all over and people having different viewpoints. The understanding, if I am a Muslim and I'm behaving with everybody in that context, that I'm expected to initiate these peaceful measures. And if I see an iota of a response of peace, I need to be opening myself up to that. And the last element of that culture of peace is the focus on spirituality that Islam demands. The understanding that mankind's innate nature created by the Lord is based on peace, that we all tend toward peace and coexistence and mutual understanding and friendship, and that is when we all are best at peace. The concept of those who are content, nafs al-mutma'inna, is what we are all in Muslim Islamic discourse asked to ascribe to, a soul which is content. And I will wrap up in this regard then. So, keeping all of that in mind, brothers and sisters, in faiths and shared traditions, as faith leaders, we can and we should be acting and inviting and joining hands with people toward true peace, which is based on a just and orderly existence. Let us all commit to promote through our varied but shared faith perspectives the establishment of lasting peace by means of a just and orderly society. And it is important that I end on a note that ties us to where we are here today. Back to the time of 1893, when Swami Vivekananda made his clarion call for harmony and peace, not dissension. So when we leave here, let's take the extract of peaceful humanitarian messaging and become a part of living that message so that we truly become part of a just and orderly society based on truths with different paths that we may all come from. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Irfan. He wasn't here when I gave out the edict, so we have to excuse him. Our next presenter is Bishop Simon Gordon. Bishop Gordon is the senior pastor of the Tridestone Church of Chicago, a full gospel Baptist church, and president of the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago. Bishop Gordon.
Promise I'm going to be on time. Thank you. Let's give everyone a great hand. And as well, give everybody a great hand for the great job they've done today on speaking on peace. I honor you, Swami. Thank you for inviting and giving us and pulling us all together. And so many of the councils here, thank you for as well. And those guests and those songs and all that took place, all have been wonderful. And I will definitely keep us in phase because Dan gave the biggest part of my lesson when he did Catholic Christian Church. Let me just basically say a few things. Peace, in essence, in our Protestant Christian sense, is a gift. It is a gift. And in our Christian tradition, the words of Christ that Dan spoke of in John 14:27, when he says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you, not as the world give to you. Let not your heart be troubled because of it, and neither let it be afraid." But then there is also a passage in Isaiah 26:3 that says, "I will keep them in perfect peace who keeps their minds stayed on me." And although they're derivatives of peace, they may be often demonstrated by all kinds of words that we use, like calmness, like serenity, like stillness, like quietness. But it is all summarized in this simple phrase that peace is really encapsulated in the idea that our supreme being, God, tells us, "I'm giving you a realm, an opportunity to cast your care." 1 Peter 5:6 says, "Humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon me, because I care for you." The idea is not to get rid of your care, but it's to get rid of the care that you care about it. To be in a posture, in a place where you can get beyond now to get to your next. None of these words by themselves, calmness, serenity, stillness, or quietness, can adequately by themselves discuss or describe with clarity what peace looks like and feels like to those who experience it. The strength of our peace can not only be known merely by how we respond to things that just happen around us, but the real authority of our peace makes its residence by the way that it lives in our hearts. It is so much more than what we say we believe in, but it's how in our hearts we process what we believe that initiates the behavior. And that promotes the atmosphere of peace. Publicly, peace is not just the opposite of war. Why? Because peace is so big and powerful that it occupies both earthly and spiritual spaces and places and realms at the same time. Naturally put, if you look at it in the sense of man and his behavior, it's always going to be set up and minimized to the fact that men and women seek to satisfy themselves. Peace for you might be hurt for me, and hurt for you might be peace for me. There needs to be a clear objective and clarity and balance that makes all of this make sense. And when we look at it in this way, peace is the ultimate, is ultimately a crucial for its role in supporting really the survival of all of our mutual purpose. This is why peace supports the places where our internal and external atmosphere thrives. And in that very support and aid from peace initiates permission to the essence of our existence that quietly services the continuation of our purpose. This is why it is of the utmost importance that we never give up the peace that satisfies our divine purpose. Knowing who we are, why we are, where we are, and what we are supposed to do is really, in essence, what we should be doing. Dan also mentioned this scripture. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they are the children of God. But I'll add a scripture to that, another word to that. James says, the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace to them that make peace. It comes to you when you give it out. It's a gift. I think that's how we started. Peace is a gift. And yes, it is true that peace as an attribute is often visibly minimized by the behavior of men rather than being holistically considered as the atmosphere of tranquility to all mankind. But in the practice of our faithful humanity, we respect that peace itself is shared by man. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge that peace itself is created in its origin by God. We need more than peace on our minds. We also need peace in our hearts at the same time. Psalm 119, 165 is an interesting scripture that I use all the time. It's one of my favorite. It says, "Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them." It's a status, it's a state, it's a posture, it's a position. And all of the rest in history kind of makes sense, because even in our Judeo-Christian heritage, since we are out of the Judaic tradition, we understand as well in Isaiah 26:12, there's an interesting scripture that says, "God ordains peace for us, for he has wrought all of our works in us." And so he sets it up so that everything that we have can bring us conclusion, satisfaction, success, and prosperity to give us the peace we must have. There's a divine and common thread that runs through the heart of every just expression of faith. And it declares that we are at our best together when we decide that we are better together. Those things work together. At the end of my commentary, it's going to end just like it began, but with a little spice attached to it. Let me say that one more time, where he says, Christ says, "My peace I give to you." And yes, peace is a gift, but it is a gift that works better when you learn how to give it away. And the promise that we see is that if you give it away, I'll keep those in perfect peace who keep their minds stayed on me. So in my appeal, let us as vessels of divine authority take this particular stance, that we should have peace, that we should share peace, that we should love peace, and that we should keep peace. Let me say them again: that we should have peace, that we should share peace, that we should love peace, and that we should keep peace. Can you say those after me? Have peace, share peace, love peace, and keep peace. There is a little doxology, and I'm at the end of my time, right? Got about 2 minutes to go. I know, I'm watching the time too. and so there's a little doxology that's very much attached to the way we actually close our idea and concept of sharing peace with each other. And we attach peace to our dream for each other. And the simple words just says, "May your life be fully blessed. May you find great peace and rest. May you have God's very best. That's my dream I have for you. May the words be rich in you. May you have peace through and through. And may prosperity be yours too. That's my dream I have for you. Now, this is your time. This is your day. May you be blessed in so many ways, more than words can ever say. That's my dream I have for you." Thank you for inviting me.
I know you're going to remember everything that was shared with you today. If you can't, you'll have a chance to dialogue and talk to others if you didn't quite understand, because we can't know everything. I do, but this is your opportunity. Get to know one another. Thank you all for your kind attention, and now I'd like to have Swami come up and conclude our gathering, this portion.
Thank you, friends. Thank you, brothers and sisters. And as it has been mentioned by the Imam, you know that this is America, and particularly Chicago. That was the first time they organized a peace meet in the Parliament of World Religion. And that is the reason we have the responsibility, the Chicagoan, to continue this. Whether other places, whatever they do, but at least we should try to develop these peace. I would suggest, if possible, you also organize this type of meeting in your organizations, in your churches, in your synagogues, in your temples. By that way, slowly, we will understand each other. So that quote over there, as many faiths, so as many paths, as many faiths, so many paths. I'm sorry. As many faiths, so many paths. It's not that we have to become one. Sometimes one gentleman was asking me, there's in front of that above the gate, there is all symbols are there. Then he was wondering, what type of religion you follow? I don't follow Hinduism, but I respect other religions, that's all. We need not to become a Hindu, should not become a Christian. And Swami Vivekananda in his wonderful speech, he said. And Muslim should not become a Hindu and like that. We should follow our own faith, our own culture, our own tradition. Only thing that we should respect others and will say, okay, brother, let God bless you. And you please go towards peace and let me allow also to go towards peace. Thank you for coming and thank you for keeping the wonderful timing. That is the 10 minutes, this and that side, because in the beginning, it is the machine that was not cooperating. So what to do? And sometimes our bell could not stop those who were giving the lecture, a pre-recorded lecture. Otherwise, so thank you for coming. Now I will request you to go outside, your lunch packets are ready. Please pick one and then go in peace. Have peace. And I will invite the speakers, please come for a minute over here. So we will have a picture together. That's all. Thank you. And I should give a special thanks to all the volunteers. They worked so hard to organize this program. Please come.